reality, bliss, the spiritual world, the material world, all the potencies, expansions, and the love and the ecstasy that comes from our relationship with God is all contained within that mantra. It's like rolled up, it's like compressed. Like when you download a file from the internet and it's compressed, it's in a zip archive or something. You have to uncompress it and then you can see what's in the file. So the holy name is like that, the mantra is like that. It has everything in it. It's like a self-extracting, downloadable archive from the spiritual world. Like my friend Jeffrey used to say, from the heavenly host mainframe. We're downloading this spiritual information, and it's designed to fit with our brains. It's designed to fit with our hearts and our minds. And it's designed to uncompress itself and install an upgrade to our software. Just like, you know, when there's a upgrade from Microsoft, it downloads and it installs itself, and then, you know, fixes some problem or something like that. So the holy name is like that. It's a software upgrade to our software of our mind. In conditioned consciousness, our mind has a bug. It has a problem. It cannot comprehend what is beyond this material world. That's a problem. That's like saying, well, you know, your computer can access one part of the internet, but you know, not the whole thing. So what's that all about? That means we have an insufficient background of information. We have insufficient education, actually. Insufficient culture. And because we lack this culture, spiritual culture or transcendental culture, we don't have the background to understand the real meaning of existence, the real meaning of life. Without spiritual life, this life is basically meaningless. Like, look at the Zen Buddhists. They say ultimately everything is nothing. And when you leave this body, then that's the end. There's just non-existence, emptiness after that. Now, what kind of philosophy is that? No wonder they commit suicide. Suicide is very common in Japan. Somebody gets in trouble, or they get caught doing something wrong. They're liable to commit seppuku. Why? Because they believe there's nothing after death. That's the end. That's it. Poof, you're gone. Finished. No more. So if there's nothing after death, that means there's no consequences. There's no karma. There's no reward or punishment after death. So why not do anything you like? Rob, steal, lie, cheat, rape, kill. Because there's no consequences. There's just nothing. There's nothingness. This is called voidism. And closely related to voidism is another philosophy called impersonalism. Impersonalism is like, we're all God. We're going to merge with God. We're going to become one with God. Which is basically the same thing. Oneness is very close to nothingness. Because in the state of oneness, there's no difference between the subject and the object. There's no distinction between the self and what we're conscious of, the not self. The other has to exist. There's a self, which is us, and then there's the other, which is the object, the subject and the object. And then the relationship between them is the quality of our consciousness. So in material consciousness, the relationship between the self, the subject, and the other, the object, is in terms of material existence. I am this body, I see the world through these senses, and then there are all these objects which appeal to my senses because they're beautiful or, you know, something like that. They gratify my senses. So then I want to be in association with those objects. And because of that, we become conditioned by this idea of material existence, and we can't see beyond it. It's like we have blinders. So the mantra contains the information that allows us to see beyond our blinders, to see beyond our limitations, and to realize that the real subject-object relationship is not between us and the material world. It's between us and God. The prime relationship is between the soul and God. And all other relationships are experienced in terms of that relationship. Actually, it's always like that. It's just that most people in the material world, their relationship with God is in a diseased state. They have a spiritual disease, a spiritual pollution, spiritual contamination of material consciousness. And because of that, they look at their position, they actually want to imitate God. They actually want to pretend to be God. God is the controller, the creator, the owner, the proprietor, the original lover, and so on and so forth. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to imitate God. And this is crazy because obviously none of us are God. God is always God. So if we were actually God, we wouldn't be here in this material world. We wouldn't be suffering. We wouldn't have to go through birth, disease, old age, death, taxes, so many the nonsense things that we have to go through in this world. We would simply be free and happy and have control over everything, and we would own everything, and obviously we're not in that position. So if we're not in that position now, how are we going to be in that position in the future? It doesn't make any sense, this philosophy. Somehow I'm going to sit and do some mystic meditation and become God? Give me a break. It's just absurd. But because it's a very pleasant idea, it's a very intoxicating idea. Oh, someday I can become God. Oh, it's a really, it's like the ultimate fantasy. Oh, geez, I'll just take this little pill or do this little meditation and I'll become God. Very seductive. So we become seduced by the idea of it. Not that we have any proof that it's possible or that it's true, or not that we know anybody or even have heard of anybody who's actually achieved it. No, it's just like an urban myth, It's a story that some people circulated. Actually, it started about 1600 years ago with a man named Shankaracharya. So the Shankaracharya came and started and invented this philosophy that we can become God. And he started circulating this story, and people found it so seductive even then that they started buying into it. And he totally misinterpreted the Vedas, the Puranas. He said that Vyasadeva, the original author of the Vedas, made a mistake. He made a mistake. And that ultimately there's no difference between God and his energy. It's all one. Where have I heard that before? It's all one. It is all one. This is a fool's philosophy. Because if there's no difference between God and his energy, then everything would be God. But we look around, everything's not God. Look, this matter is completely dull. It's not even conscious. It doesn't respond. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there until we do something with it. That's God's energy. But if this was identical with God, it would be conscious. It would respond to us. We could have a relationship with it. We imagine that we have a relationship with material objects that we call ownership. But actually, we don't own these things because we didn't produce them. If I produce a work of art, then I own it. I have the copyright on it. I can do whatever I like with it. I can distribute it, I can sell it, I can license it to others, because it's mine. I created it. But this world is not ours. We didn't create it. It was here. We found it. We came into it. And there's all this stuff. But it's all produced of material ingredients that we didn't create. We simply found. It's just like the pilgrims came over you know, and landed on Plymouth Rock and took a big flag and stuck it in the ground and said, okay, now this belongs to the Queen. It's absurd. Did the Queen create America? No. It was there for millions of years, and the Native Americans were already living there. You know, they had a very nice society. But who are these guys that come up in this boat and put this flag and say, okay, now it belongs to us? Huh? What? I mean, the Native Americans were like flabbergasted. You know, they would say like, well, you know, welcome, you know, here, if you want this land, you know, you can start a village and everything, that's fine.